Good evening, everyone. This is the Auburn School Buildings Committee meeting for Tuesday night, May 13th. If we could open it with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being recorded for rebroadcast and stuff, and I'm going to ask if anybody else is recording. See none? Okay. Next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. Anybody up for? No citizens' comments. Okay. Next item is the approval of the meeting minutes from the last meeting, which are in the packages.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of the March 25th, 2014 meeting as presented.
Second.
All right. Any discussions? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's a vote. Next items up is some of our general updates. First up is Eric from Lamro Pagano. Give us a few update on some of this stuff.
Good evening. Just a quick update. We're into the construction phase, obviously, you've seen. And for us as a designer, we've got the typical submittals, requests for information, weekly job meetings, which are all ongoing now. We've been seeing a lot of site and structural steel and concrete shop drawings. We expect that over the next month or so, we'll see a significant increase once the other subcontractors get on board and start preparing drawings for ordering materials. So we will be busy with that. The second item on here, potential floor change, and that was actually a result of the FF&E visit, which I'll just give you a quick update on. FF&E fixtures, furnishings, and equipment. We conducted a site visit to Sherwood Middle School in Shrewsbury. This was a school that Lamro Pagano worked on 2009, I believe it was started. So they've been in it for a couple of years. We did the furnishings there, and the purpose of the meeting was to take members of the committee and the district and teachers through and look at some of the furnishings there, the desks, the chairs, how the classrooms worked, and see some of the technology that was in place that you'll be also using here. So as a result of that, and that meeting went well, we're in the process of ordering some sample desks and chairs to look at so that those will be delivered. We also have a technology meeting upcoming where we'll be looking at the telephone system again and some of the other things that have changed. One of those being the decision to go with a 1-to-1 ratio on the devices, tablets, that sort of thing. Just to touch back on the floor change, as a result of the visit to Sherwood, one of the things that we saw there was linoleum flooring used in the corridors and classrooms, and linoleum is made a comeback. It's a natural material, cork and natural material binders. Comes in sheets. It's we typically specify a sheet installation with welded seams, and we can do patterns with it. It's got some resiliency to it, and the nice thing about it is it doesn't have to be waxed, so the maintenance on it is lower. So even though it's got a higher initial cost, over time there's a payback there because you're not doing the intensive waxing and stripping and using chemicals in the school. So we asked at the request of the district, we asked the construction manager, Fontaine, for some initial pricing based on changing the VCT at the corridors and classrooms and other areas to linoleum. And I think the pricing difference per square foot is was it in the vicinity of $450, Dave? Okay. We have about 10,000 square feet of corridor and 50 or 52,000 square feet of VCT in the other areas, primarily classrooms. So all told, you'd be looking at somewhere in the vicinity of 300, almost $300,000 difference. Although I understand there is some question of the reimbursement with MSBA that I'm sure Paul can inform you of. So that's pretty much our update. We have a few change orders as a result of existing conditions. We had an abandoned septic tank that was, it had been noted on the 21E. Nobody really knew where it was. There were no records of it, and they discovered it with an excavator and found that the manhole had a steel cap on it, and it was below grade, so nobody knew where it was. So there was a cost to remove that. There was some asbestos cement line that was discovered that had to be removed and abated and removed. We found that one of the infiltration galleries was seeing some groundwater, and that system had to be raised because you can't have an infiltration at that groundwater level. It needed to be raised up about 18 inches and necessitated the installation of some additional crushed stone. And the last item was an increase on the water line. There was a request from the district, Auburn Water District, to go from a 6-inch water line from West Street to Masonic Circle, from 6-inch to 8-inch. So that was the cost. There was a cost associated with tappings and sleeves and fittings and the pipe itself. We have prepared a conformed set. So as the bid drawings are out there, there's addendum to these drawings, and we issued a total of, with the combined early site package and the steel foundation package, and then the final trade contractor package, there were a total of 8 addenda. And those have been incorporated into what we call a conformed set. All of the changes that were made in those addenda have been incorporated into a set of documents, drawings and specifications, and that's been issued to the contractor as a convenience, so that they have everything in one package. We are moving ahead on mass chips and looking at some of the deliverables that we need to provide as designer, and also I know Paul is working with the district to prepare the district deliverables there as well. And I think that just about does it for me. Are there any questions?
Good.
The VCT versus the linoleum, what is the life expectancy difference between the two?
It's tough to say. The VCT they get now that they stopped putting asbestos in it, it doesn't last as long. It's thinner, it's more brittle. I've heard people say that in high abuse areas or high wear areas like at stairs or where traffic is concentrated, you can start to see tiles breaking down after 10 years. I would think you'd be safe to get 15 to 20 years out of VCT, maybe more. The linoleum, I honestly can't say what the life expectancy would be, but I would expect it to be at least that much, if not more. And again, the big difference between the two, linoleum is a little more resilient, but the big difference is in the maintenance cost. You won't have you won't be stripping it with chemicals. You won't be using those chemicals you won't have the waxing and the buffing, you know, and especially with the welded seams, you know, it's more of a mopping type maintenance.
Yeah,
Sure.
just to finish with you, I don't believe commercial linoleum is like a residential linoleum. It's a much more substantial product. But FF&E, are you doing that in-house?
We have a consultant. We have a
who's that?
It's Blue Line Design. It's somebody that we've worked with for a number of projects. They did the work at Sherwood Middle School and also Ashburnham Gardner High School, where we did some work. So they're doing both the fixtures and the furnishings, and they're also doing the technology. So
Okay. That's
you know,
my next question.
they'll be buying out the projector, interactive projectors and that sort of thing.
Thank you.
Anything else for Eric? Okay. Next item, continuing up in the general updates at Skanska's. Paul? Or-
Alright. I'll give you guys a quick schedule update from the Fontaine side while Paul gets ready. Seeing there's a lot going on out there, so right now, site-wise, excavation and backfill still going around for all the drainage and utilities going in the ground. The first 3 infiltration galleries are all completed. Number 1's already covered. The other 2 and 3 are gonna be getting covered over the next week and a half, 2 weeks. The ledge removal's ongoing back where the turf field area is. T&M, our site guys, are still going at it with a hammer and trying to avoid blasting. So far, they've been fairly successful. It's a little slower than blasting it, but it's a lot easier for the neighbors and everybody else involved. The concrete pours, the south classroom area, we're pushing the building south classroom, north classroom, the core, and then the cafeteria gym areas. The concrete work for the south classroom is essentially finished up at this point. We're probably about 40% through on the north classroom wing, and then starting on the core section in the cafeteria in the next week and a half. Underground plumbing is getting ramped up right now, and we're trying to get our electrician ready and on board to start coming out and doing some of his underground work. That's really all the big stuff we have schedule-wise. Anybody got any questions for me? Okay.
What's steel coming up? In the
Steel
next-
deliveries, we're looking at first week of June.
Okay,
So their first 5 blocks are all in fabrication right now. So they're telling me they can still hit it. So if that changes, I'll let you guys know.
okay.
Thanks.
Okay. What I wanted to do is go through real quick the change order request number 1, 2, 3, and 4 that Eric had alluded to a few minutes ago. These change orders are coming out of the GMP or Fontaine's contingency. There's 3 different contingencies within this project budget. It's Fontaine's contingency, dealing with a lot of the stuff that arises on the project. Then we have an owner construction contingency, which you're in control of as well, and then an owner's contingency on top of that. So there's really 3 contingencies. Two of them you're 100% in control of. You're also somewhat in control of Fontaine's contingency. But for now, what we wanted to do until we got a few more things put in place on how we're going to go through these processes, on reviewing change orders and accepting them and work proceeding, I wanted to bring those in front of you tonight so that you can see some of the things that arrive or happen to us on the job site, how it's handled. It's reviewed, the Fontaine gets the pricings together, it's reviewed by Skanska, it's reviewed by LPA, and then they go ahead and proceed and do the work. These 4 change order requests are coming again, like I said, out of Fontaine's construction contingency. And I just wanted you to really just take a look at them and I guess authorize or approve for them to be paid per contract with Fontaine. Your change order number 1 was the removal of the abandoned septic tank that was discovered out there. in the amount of $2,182.58. Your change order number 2 was the removal of the asbestos that was found for $1,336.27. Your number 3 was the groundwater infiltration gallery that Eric was talking about, where they had to raise it at $2,025.18. And number 4 was the increase of the water line from a 6-inch to an 8-inch for $10,413.55.
Mr. Chairman, could you explain number 3?
Eric, do you want to get in? I know you.
Yeah, well, the infiltration gallery is the,
Get Eric, you go up.
the infiltration galleries are subsurface areas on the site where filled with crushed stone and piping. All the stormwater goes there, and the idea is rather than having a detention pond and having a discharge, you have that, but you also have this capability for the site to infiltrate into the ground on site and remain on site, thereby reducing the post-construction discharge. So the regulations require that you not be in groundwater, because if you're if this system is in groundwater, it won't. There's no opportunity for it to permeate into the ground. And, you know, when we did the initial test pits, we didn't encounter groundwater.
Did not.
What happened, pardon?
Did you say did not?
We did not. We did not encounter groundwater. When they actually excavated for that infiltration gallery, they did. And, you know, this was after a period of heavy rain. You know, it might have been a seasonal fluctuation.
Okay.
But the fact was, they were into groundwater. And because they had already excavated it,
Right.
they had to raise the entire structure up. And because we don't design these things to the absolute minimum tolerances for cover, we had that ability to raise it up by 18 inches. So what you're seeing here is the cost to bring in 1.5-inch crushed stone and place that stone and basically, you know, raise it up to 18 inches.
But you answered the question when you said you didn't know it was there,
Correct.
day one. Thank you.
So we would just need a motion for approval of the amounts for all 4.
Well,
I'm doing this because we haven't set in motion.
well, I know, and we got to do that, but I think we should, everybody's probably a little confused and looking around the room wondering about this, so we should just probably skip a couple into it and get into the GMP, so that they understand that it's all part of the,
Sure, we're number
the final
5
number.
for the GMP.
Yeah, so if we skipped ahead into number 6 and the other discussion on
And
the
then
GMP.
come back to this
and then come
one
back
and
to
then
these,
the
yeah,
other parts.
And then come back to number 5, yeah.
I'm not sure if that's quite enough to go around. Okay, so over the last couple several weeks since the completion of the 100% drawings, the process was we put them out to bid. We got trade contractor bids on many of the packages as is required by 149A, such as masonry, miscellaneous metal, etc. And then Fontaine solicited bids from what we call non-trade contractors for the other scopes of work that are not filed sub-bid or trade contract work. We received in total between 115 and 130 bids for all the sections of work. We scoped them out, and then we made recommendations as to who to carry for certain items of work, and we've been through those with the architect and OPM and Mark. And our base bid guaranteed maximum price, which includes the cost of the work as well as a construction contingency, is $33,184,873. That number is just over $2 million less than our 90% estimate. So we've realized some savings there, and it's a little bit more savings compared to the project funding agreement, which Dale and Paul will speak to. Our alternate number one price for the geothermal well came to $432,915, and our total alternate two price for the turf field, some of which was already included in Amendment 1 and Amendment 2, but total, just so you can see the whole number, is $470,820. And the alternates overall came in within the budgets for both the alternates that were allocated. So you can see with the summary sheet, the total guaranteed maximum price with just the base bid, with alternate 1, with alternate 2, and the base bid with alternates 1 and 2. So, Paul, do you want to speak to savings compared to the PFA?
Yeah, pretty easy. Our original estimates and what your contract, your project funding agreement with MSBA put the construction cost at $35,474,676. The GMP that Fontaine's bringing in front of you is $33,184,873, which is about $2.3 million less than a cost of savings that we're finding now. So that's a good thing.
So, Mark, do we want to talk about, the other thing that we're looking for tonight, decision-wise, is a decision on the alternates, number 1 and number 2, because in order to release the subcontractors to continue going forward with underground work and et cetera, keep on schedule, we need to determine which alternates we're going to move forward with. So we've presented the numbers, and we would ask for the committee to discuss and decide which alternates to proceed with.
Well, with the MSBA regulations, we'll probably need to go ahead and vote on the GMP base amount first, then we'll go through the alternates.
So that's, that'd be the 34,088,608
That would be with alternates 1.
for the base amount. Or you're talking about base amount with the alternates.
So you want to vote on base first, or you
Yes,
want?
you're gonna have to vote on base. and then
Okay,
go with-
so the base is 33,184,873. I think,
33,000,000.
Okay,
184,873.
yep. Inside of the MBE, WB,
yep, yeah, I can give a short summary on that as well. We were able to meet our MBWB goals, which we knew would be a challenge up front. Through the procurement process, we were lucky to get a mason contractor who was a minority business, so that helped us towards the goal. And then we've also picked up some MBWB participation in kitchen equipment, some from the drywall contractor, some from carpeting, some from the casework subcontractor, signage, landscaper, and the irrigation subcontractor. So total, our goal for the project was 10.4% of the guaranteed maximum price. And that 10.4% number translates to $3,451,226. And our confirmed participation in the GMP included is $3,464,208. So we're at about 10.439%. So we can meet that goal, and that's the costs for doing that are all included in the GMP that we've presented. So,
and just there are inside the 33,184 number, there are several items that Fontaine's still trying to harden up, so they went a little, we have hold numbers on those, and right now that, if it comes in at the lower price, they're just gonna change order that right back on the GMP side, so
Right, they're-
that's the max, and it's gonna be downward from there, so it could be another couple $100,000.
Yeah,
Depending.
there are some items where the scope was, there were questions and clarifications on scope, and in the process of putting together the GMP, we went with scope holds that were conservative for those items, so that we're sure that we'll cover basically the worst-case scenario. And then if we're able to see some additional savings, then we would write an owner change order to reduce the GMP.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If the, the 35 million MSBA, was that the approved amount? So the $34 million total with alternatives 1 and 2, that falls well within, or well below.
Yes, your project budget, your agreement with MSBA was for the 35 million. So now that we're actually under that, there's savings to the project.
So if we were to bid on 1 and 2, say we didn't vote on 1 and 2, we denied it, then that $1 million savings would actually, wouldn't go back to us, it would go back to.
Well, remember, MSBA is reimbursing at around 64%, so they're gonna claim their part of that. So even though you've got approximately 2.3 million in savings,
58.
you're only gonna get a small portion of that back that you could use towards something else. However, usually, because you've already got your owner contingencies and your construction contingencies and everything else, it will just disappear. Your entire project funding agreement will be reduced to this new amount.
So for us, it wouldn't make sense if we would deny alternatives 1 and 2, it'd just be throwing money away, or turning money back in.
Well, alternates 1 and 2 are not even being reimbursed by the state anyway. It's 100% your burden.
So the cost savings wouldn't amount to anything.
Well, you're already having cost savings, the taxpayers, what's gonna have to be bonded and stuff, is already being realized because the project is now cheaper than what we anticipated it would be. It's not where you have all this extra money, so let's go spend it or something like that. No, you're just reducing the amount that it's gonna cost to build this project, and we'll move forward with that.
So I guess what I'm asking is, would it make sense at all to vote against alternative 1 and 2? Would it make a difference at all? Would we gain anything by,
Well, that's what we'll discuss in a few minutes.
Okay.
You'll gain a field,
Yeah.
a turf field.
okay,
Yeah.
But let's get the base and then we'll
okay.
talk a little more.
Okay, so we basically request then that you make a motion to approve the base bid GMP first of the 33,184,873.
Make a motion to approve the base bid of $33,184,873.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussions or concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Let's vote. All right. So, alternate number 1 is the ground source heat pumps, the geothermal wells. I think it was 3 or 4 months ago now. We had the LPA had their engineer in here, Siemens, did a presentation on that, where it stands and stuff. Now, based on these revised numbers, and their Fontaine's number of 432,915, and based on Siemens' analysis of the savings per year and stuff, it's about a 16.8 years buyback on the, or return on this thing, which after 15 you're already starting to return pumps, or you're having to replace pumps and stuff. So it's a question. We had some discussions that night about it. That was kind of a mixed feel for everybody. We don't need it for our mass chips plants. We're gonna make that goal. We're getting our maximum reimbursement on that stuff. So
Didn't we ask the engineer that night his opinion, if it was his, and he kind of said that,
Yeah, he was, and I think at that time, he was down around, had 14, there 13 or 14 years, so,
Yeah.
you know, based on the numbers at that, on the budgets then, so.
I don't know that it makes any sense.
So it's out for discussion right now, and I think we, you know, to decide, I mean, we need to,
The way technology goes today, 16 years is an awfully long time.
Was there someone that, excuse me, interrupt.
No.
There was, the gentleman that presented it, we asked him if he would buy it if he were on our side. There wasn't the gentleman that said he would?
Kevin Seaman.
Okay.
yeah.
And the pros and cons with it, I mean, the 15, 16, I guess, return on investment. I mean, he sounded like he did a good presentation, but is there any feedback from anyone else since then on, same thing, mixed feelings, but is
Yeah.
anybody?
I mean, the one project he keeps pointing to is a school in Westboro, but it was an all-electric school that converted to this ground storage heat pumps and stuff as the alternate. So it went for big savings, yearly energy cost, because it was going from all electric to, you know, now using this technology. We're starting out on a real high efficiency, you know, gas service, you know, equipment and stuff, so that there's not as much of a savings between the two of them. I think that's part of what's playing out. So it's, you know.
Any feeling, can we ask the contractors that have more experience in this, what you feel, pros or cons, anyone in that?
I mean, we don't have a lot of experience on the side of looking at whether or not it's gonna go in. You know, I mean, I would leave that to the engineer, the architect, and those guys that deal with it every day, honestly. And not to dodge the question, we're not experts in it.
Can we defer to the architects, engineers?
If you like.
Would like.
You know, I think, you know, I don't personally have a lot of experience with geothermal systems. Our engineer has said that if the money is available and that he would recommend doing it. And I think that one of the reasons for that is because of the volatility of the petroleum-based fuel market, not knowing where that's going. If that stays stable, you know, it's probably not a good investment. But what we've been seeing is that the petroleum fuels, which LP gas is a petroleum based fuel, the prices have increased. And we think they'll continue to increase. So that, you know, it's hard to say to predict the future. You know, if we knew exactly what electric costs would be, you know, we could look into our crystal ball and tell you exactly what to do. But in our opinion, if you have the money, we think it's a wise investment for the future. But again, it's your money. You
But Mr.
you have to
Chairman,
make that decision.
Through the chair.
Joe, you had-
I agree with what Eric is saying as far as the volatility about the fuel, because we're building a building for the next 50 years, and we have no idea what that cost will be. And it seems like the geothermal is the state-of-the-art equipment that's available to us at this time.
Well,
I think if we have the funds to support it, why not put the best system out there? That's-
not that I'm any expert in it, but I have done a bunch of research on it, and usually where that falls down, I mean, we still fall down that the numbers are not fully realized in some of the electric use that still goes into the ground source stuff, and I'm not convinced, you know, so I see something that we're pushing out 16 years. If this projection now pushes out 20 and you're replacing half the equipment in that time, I mean, you're never getting to the end of it before you're starting to buy new equipment. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, you know, 5 years from now, they may have, you know, 100% better ground source heat pumps and stuff. I don't know. It just, you know, it's a lot of pros and cons out there. There's nothing really that's super all one way. I mean, that's what I was saying, that, you know, they use the Hastings School as a big, you know, big report, but it's a all-electric building, so, I mean, their energy costs were huge every year, so, you know, they cut it, you know, way down by going to this, you know, and so their buyback, you know, their buyback on it was really good, but I don't know,
And Mr. Chairman, if I could ask, on that, what's the replacement cost for the pumps? I mean, this is the overall cost for the entire system, but what would the replacement pumps cost? Rough ballpark, like for just.
I don't know, down into, I don't think we have our
I think the engineer did give a ballpark, but I don't remember the number off the top of my head. It may be in some documentation.
Would there be any extras because of the rock, the ledge? In other words, you design a system, but to get it in the ground, where you
Yeah.
recover, wouldn't that?
I mean, the design on this, if I remember right, I mean, these were 1,000-foot or better wells on this,
1,500 feet?
1,500 feet. I mean, these are pretty, I mean, you're going through rock
Yeah.
regardless, so I mean, it's, I mean, if they hit some really hard stuff or they have real problems, could bump the number some, I don't know.
And Mr. Chair, if I could too, also on the finance, if it comes down to the finances, for the $432,000, what's the cost savings, if anyone can answer this? Or do we have that money available in the budget already? Is this something that's gonna come out of the town budget that's above and beyond? Is this something that we can afford with what we have, or is it something that we can't?
This price that came in is approximately $135,000 more than what we anticipated. So Auburn would bear that entire cost
If we
of
would
the
get that
additional
money.
$135,000.
Well, you gotta remember that we have the big master budget was, 44,511,000, which included all this. Now, we're realizing right now a couple $1 million savings on the hard construction side.
Only a small portion of that.
But-
But I'll
Well,
tell you where we've got West Street.
No, and I was gonna get to that in a second, but, I mean, it's 58% of eligible costs that the state reimburses on that, so, you know, site work, anything over 8%, town pays 100% on it, so, I mean, where we're saving, you know, certain areas we're saving more that comes to the town, other times it's split between, the savings are, you know, 58, 42 to the town, so, in some cases, in this case, I mean, if we don't spend the 432, that's 432 right off the bottom line to Auburn, not to, I wasn't ever on the MSBA side reimbursement package. That was always outside of it. So if we don't spend it, that's 100% back on the town budget. Now, Paul did bring up, we do have West Street, which, you know, suffered a scope creep as we were going through all our planning boards and you know, town necessities and stuff is getting there. So, you know, we still have West Street to complete and do, so savings on that, the whole money on the town side is gonna only help against making sure
We
we
had
keep that.
estimated that at the time, without cost of taking lands and stuff like that, at close to $800,000.
So the 130,000 out of the 400, somewhere around there, out of the 400,000, 130 would be, we would have to pay for that.
You're gonna have to pay what was budgeted, the $297,000, plus an additional $135,000, totaling the $432,000.
And where would that, at the end of the day, with savings in other areas, if we were to pay for that, say we voted on it now, and then 6 months from now, 3 months from now, a year from now, said, okay, that's gonna be over X amount of dollars, where do we get that money from?
Well, right now, from the savings that we have from the GMP, but your portion, I would be able to apply to
We
the
wouldn't have to go back and
geothermal.
out of the process to the town and say, look, we screwed up, we voted on something, you know, and now we have to ask the town for another $300,000, $400,000, that would be the big problem.
Yes, you will have to do
We
that.
will have to, so that, is that in reality, does that look like, if we vote on this today, that could be a problem, realistically?
I don't know what our impact's gonna be for West Street. I can tell you I'm worried.
Okay.
You know, take West Street out, there's always ways to make things work. But for now, you all are tasked with what you want on your project and what's best for this project. You know, whatever you task me with, my job, I'll.
So I think I heard maybe 75,000 might be the estimate for the additional replacement costs. Would that be inclusive of everything?
Well, I mean, it's not the wells, it's some of the equipment inside that, yeah.
So it's an
different.
estimate of the replacement of some of the pumps and, so comparing it to the 432, that might increase the payback to around 20-ish years, roughly.
Yeah,
But it's a school that's gonna last 50.
Yep.
So still, at some point, there will be a lot of savings, it seems like.
And I agree with the chair, go ahead.
The only other question I had was, and I know it's a little bit past the point, but were other alternative energy sources looked at? Was this the one that was brought up because it had, more bang for the buck, so to speak, or?
We focused on this one because we knew there was not natural gas available on the site, and there were no signs that natural gas would be coming to this site anytime in the near future. We looked at photovoltaic panels as another option, but during the early stages, we went through a value engineering process, and that component was one of the value engineering reductions, although we did maintain the ability to have photovoltaic panels on the roof in the future. The roof is designed structurally to accommodate them.
Does that tend to be a longer payback?
The photovoltaic,
in this case, it was. When we did,
I
that
was
was,
just trying
that
to
was before we
remember.
put the latest funding agreement together and stuff, that was out there quite a ways, just didn't make sense.
Yeah, I
on
was
the-
just looking at why we got into this corner of the geothermal and
Yeah.
put that one in front instead of some of the other alternative sources, but I don't know.
Also at that time, when we were looking at, the budget was what,
Yep.
297 or whatever, so I mean, it was a different payback time, now that you're looking at 432, I mean, it stretches it out further. And it's all, natural gas is the rage, and it's, being exported everywhere across the country, and, what's to say that, some lines aren't gonna be run further in Auburn, and the school goes on that. I mean, we wouldn't, right now, if we were wholly on natural gas, you wouldn't even be,
right.
yeah. So, I mean,
No,
it's a crystal ball, I mean, we can't.
my personal opinion on it is it's a long payback and it almost perpetuates itself.
Yeah,
By the time you get close to catching up, you're starting to replace the old equipment, so you're always playing catch-up with it.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate Joe Fahey's concerns. He's between a rock and a hard place when it comes to, future costs of electricity. But we're on the hook for a tremendous amount of that 430-something. And I think you're hitting the nail on the head. I just can't agree to go with this or vote for this. I'm usually one that likes the new bells and whistles, but I don't think this is.
Well, if I through the chair, Mr. Fahey says, and I respect his opinion, the best system for the town, we can't predict the petroleum for the future, but it seems like it's gone up as far as I can remember. It's never gone down with the unrest in the Middle East. Probably for our lifetime, the issues are always going to be the same. I like the best for the town, and I mean, I agree with both of you, what you both of you are saying, but I'm leaning more towards this is the way the future, we can't predict the petroleum costs and so on and so forth. And I know it's probably a mixed batch right here, but I wish there was someone else that could give maybe a little bit push over. And if I get it right, you would go with this as of, if you were leaning either way, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're kind of our expert, not kind of, you're our expert in the field, all you folks are. That's why we had chosen you out of all the companies that sat before us, because you're our eyes and ears, and the project manager and so on and so forth. So I'm asking if maybe we get a little bit more input from the field of experts, because I'm having a tough time on this, and this is for our future, so I don't want to vote on something that.
Like I said, if we wouldn't have made the recommendation to even have a geothermal system as an alternate if we didn't feel it was a viable solution. So our position is if you have the money, as always with alternates, you have the choice to go with them or not to accept them. But our feeling was if you have the money in your budget and you have an OPM that's advising you on that, whether or not you have the money. You know, I know you have some unknowns with West Street, so I'll defer it to Paul and Dale on that subject. But our feeling is if you have the money, it's something you should go with. You know, the only other comment that I would make is regarding maintenance. You talked about the comment was made that, you know, after a certain number of years, the geothermal system has maintenance costs, but rooftop units have maintenance costs too. They have a life cycle and they will require, you know, updates and new compressors and parts and maintenance as well. So it's the maintenance costs are not applied only to the geothermal system. Not to try and sway anybody,
But you're also not paying a $432,000 premium right now.
Correct.
It's in the price, so, I mean, yes, you're right, it's got long-term maintenance, everything does. I mean, personally, I don't think the technology's there. I don't think, in this area, I don't think it's the best thing. I mean, it's 16 years, it's not there. I mean, I'm 29 years in construction and stuff, and I've seen very few projects put in ground source heat pumps in this area. Some people do it just, you know, because some of the projects have done it just to get their lead points, because that's a chasing points versus, you know, whether it really makes sense or not. So it's not like it's, you know, in the private housing residential areas, it's probably happened more than it has on a commercial level that I've seen, so I don't know.
Has that been successful, as far as you know?
On the homeowners, I don't know. Everything you read out there, it's mixed, it's going back and forth, it's, you know, there's no real clear indicators. I don't know.
So, Mr. Chair, so do you think that those projects haven't gone with it? Because, I mean, if the payback is there within the life of the building, why do you think that a lot of projects haven't gone this way? Just from your experience.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, like I think Jim said it too. By the time you're starting to do maintenance on it, you're still paying it off. You're starting maintenance, and that's kind of perpetuating the whole thing down the road. And you're not getting, you know, so you're paid a lot more upfront for what have we really gained, you know?
I guess there's two components, you know, the payback and then do you have the money?
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if those are the projects, if they had the money, and regardless of what we do, we're fortunate right now because prices are coming in low, so that's a good thing.
On the base building numbers, but yeah, this one, these numbers came in a lot higher, and then
Right.
yeah.
One comment that I would make is, it seems that with the district's commitment to be as environmentally friendly and green as possible, if this has the potential, and I don't know the answer to this question, if it has the potential to reduce our energy costs in the first year, the second year, and through the 50 years or longer that we have it, I mean, that's going to help us on the operating side. So I don't know the answer to that, but I ask us to keep that in mind when we make the vote.
That's a confusion, boy.
Sorry. Is that how I feel?
400,000 buys a lot of oil.
Through the chair,
kidding.
I agree to saying, Dr. Bunnell, for the future of,
But I don't think we have the money because West Street's gonna pass us.
and is that a definite, that's the thing too, on the West Street?
The West Street?
What are some of the issues or potential issues that we're seeing in West Street?
Well, I mean, it's the scope of it, from the 3 lanes and sidewalk from the school entrance all the way to Southbridge Street. You know, it's a sizable chunk of work that has to be done out there.
And is that been budgeted in, or what's the holdup as far as, what's the unknown?
Well, we have an engineer on board. They're a little bit behind on getting surveying done, but they're up and running now. So I mean, by the next meeting, they should be able to be in here and start to have, more discussions about it and everything. It's an update that Paul was going to give in a little bit, but,
Can we hold off on this vote until we hear the rest of the?
I don't believe,
Would that help?
I don't believe,
I'm going to give you
yeah.
a quick update. on what it is, other than the fact that we've got the engineering on board and under contract now. They've started the surveying work, and we're projecting completing the turn lane and opening up the road, taking of the lands and all that by the time this school opens. Preliminary cost for the construction was around $800,000. We do not know what the impacts are going to be with Mass DOT. We may have to address some of the issues up at this intersection. If that happens, it could push us out a good year more. We don't know.
And then what was there any initial upfront costs budgeted into West Street? So that's 800 above and beyond, at least? And that's a definite, that has to be, obviously.
Yeah, the planning board here in Auburn, this must be done.
So we're potentially looking at going out to the town for $800,000.
Well, if we didn't have any savings anywhere else, yes. But right now,
No
no reimbursement on that. Because at the site work, we're already at beyond 8% of the cost of construction.
It's not considered
So-
project site anyway, so
Yeah,
MSBA won't touch it. We're
so-
actually having to treat it as a separate, completely separate project than the school. So I'm going out and getting new contractors, new engineers, completely whole new team for this.
So as far as our savings, it's the 2 million times 40%, is that what we're looking at?
That'd be a rough. We'd have to go through, the whole
What's
funding.
reimbursable and what's not.
Yeah, to come up with a calculation. Because if you remember, the 44,511,000 broke down. I think Auburn's part was, what did we end up with being 24 million something? It was like 48% or something like that. It came up higher because it's of the eligible cost. So,
Right.
as you take all those out, but
So we don't know what percentage of the 2 million we would get back.
right. A rough figure would be, you could say the 40% would give you at least a conservative value for what
So that's 800,000.
yeah.
Somebody's got to be the bad guy. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we not accept alternate number 1, the geothermal
Second.
well.
All right, there's a second. Any more? Mr. Grossman seconded it. Any other discussions? Do we want to? Okay.
I'd just like to say one thing.
Whether we want to make the motion as a, more on the affirmative side, and then if it's voted down, it's voted down. But
I'm going on the thing of voting it down because there's too many unknown things going on here. We don't have enough knowledge, and people out in the audience that are doing all the plans and all the work don't really have a confirmed yes or no, or if it'll work or if it won't work, and it's just too vague, I think, at this time. And, I'd hate to have to go out to the town residents and ask them for more money,
absolutely.
and when we can turn around, and I will be in favor with the alternative 2, the turf field, before I would be with that. And if we can, it's just too unknown, in my opinion.
Any other comments right now? So the motion that was on the floor and seconded was for not accepting alternate 1 as it stands, and not making it part of the JMP and eliminating it forever on the project here.
One more question. actually.
Sure.
Do we have to take number 1 to get to number 2?
No.
Thank you.
Under the full file submit on, like on the high school, you had to go
Thank you.
along, but no, you don't have to. So the motion on the floor is to not accept alternate number 1 for the geothermal wells, ground source heat pump system. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Is it 3 opposed?
Sorry, Joe.
Okay. It wasn't always going to be easy.
That's the first non-unanimous.
Yeah.
I think we better.
Number 2, I think, is with the turf field, the artificial field for the multipurpose field. We had already made the commitment under, was it Amendment 1? When we went with site work to accept it as the turf field, so that we're going with it, the first awarded bid package out of the gates here, so my opinion, it's kind of a formality that we need to go ahead and approve
And
this.
then also, the bids came in good. Compared to the budget initially, we have savings in alternate too, so.
Yeah, what was that? That was,
34,000.
We had budgeted 640,725. Bids came in at 470,820.
So 169,000 and change.
and on this one, I mean, like the high school and everything else, I mean, we're realizing savings because you're not fertilizing, you're not doing
Mr.
everything.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the base bid GMP along with alternate number 2 at $470,820.
I'll second that.
Any discussions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's voted.
Okay. Any other questions on the GMP?
No. So that makes, if my calculations are right, the base plus alternate 2, that makes it 33,655,693, I believe. You didn't do it yet? All right. So now we can go back and talk about these change orders and
The
stuff
change orders, right.
that Paul was talking about before. And what he's talking about is that inside of Fontaine's 33,184,000, they have a construction line item contingency that's in there. So all these changes are right now coming out of that line item, so it's all within that number. It's not coming out of, we have a separate owner's contingency for, bigger scope changes and stuff that we need to, that we're
This
not taking out
contingency
of.
is used for any unforeseen conditions, even they have a few allowances if they need to work weekends or if something comes up. So there's really 2 things I'm asking from you guys. The first one was just to approve, because we haven't set any policies in place on how we're going to deal with that Fontaine's contingency, is to approve those change orders 1 through 4. And then the second thing is, every time something like this comes up, it's reviewed by Skanska, it's reviewed by LPA. We, go through it, make sure the numbers are correct, we agree with the amounts of whatever the materials or labor may be. At that point, we would like to have the school building committee give authorization for Skanska, LPA, and then also in concurrence with Mark Ismay to allow us to spend the money, or to go forward.
Up to a certain amount.
Up to $25,000. What we're trying to get away from is, for instance, if Fontaine says, hey, we want to work this weekend to keep up on schedule, and we got to call you in the last minute to make those decisions.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make that into a motion, provided
Good luck
he
on that.
spells it out. No, it makes all the sense in the world.
Right. To authorize
These guys are going
Skanska,
like gangbusters. They
LPA,
can't wait a month to get an
yeah,
approval.
and Mark to review and approve scope changes that would be applied to Fontaine's contingency. Does that sound better?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, could I ask a question on the change order? For the
Up
$10,000.
to 25,000. Skanska, LPA, you got to approve, you got to review.
But we'll review them, yeah. So
Right.
we're not, we won't be authorizing anything.
LPA will make a recommendation, correct, along with Skanska.
Got that?
Before, do we have to vote on the change order first before we vote on allowing them to make the,
We can go either way.
Yeah.
I mean, these are out here, so we can, they're freshest, so we can go ahead and vote on these change orders that are in front of us.
I just have a question on the 6-inch main to the 8-inch main. Where was the change order? Like, why was that increased to 8 inches after the fact? What was the reason behind it?
The water main was looped from West Street over to Masonic Circle. And it was always shown as a 6-inch line. The water, in conversations with the water district, the site contractor happened to mention that they'd be installing the water line, and in looking at the drawings, the water district representative said that an 8-inch line was required. Now, it hadn't been brought up in previous discussions or in the review of the drawings during the whole planning board process, but apparently it's a unwritten requirement for the town of Auburn to have 8-inch mains.
Yeah, so I just had a question on where they presented the schematics, I guess, at the beginning from the 6 to 8 inch, or this is just, are they coming in after the fact, kind of blinded, or why are they, why is it after the fact going to the 6? It seemed like that would be something picked up on the prints before here.
I would have thought it would have been, but it was never picked up.
Are there any more foreseen issues down the road, like say to vote on, I agree 100%, you know, you have to vote on something instead of calling us in, but is there any other foreseen, is the water department on board with everything that goes on, or the inspectors sometimes?
Well, I think everybody's been given the opportunity to review and comment on things at this point, so
Are they doing it? Is there any push?
Well, we
from the
have
town?
another issue to address.
yeah.
So yes and no.
You know, we don't know until they actually come up.
Right.
Yeah.
But in this,
There has been a lot of reviews, there has been a lot
I
of
could probably
pre-meetings
shed a
and
little
stuff, and
light
they
on
have, you know, we've picked up a
The plan that
lot.
the water district had a line on there that said W, means water. It didn't say 6-inch, 4-inch, 8-inch, nothing. Well, design-wise, maybe a 6-inch would work. It's a regulation of the water department of an 8-inch. That's a regulation. Nobody from niche engineering went to the water department and asked questions. All right, so it was just that one little piece that apparently just got avoided or misplaced, et cetera, et cetera. So the water district superintendent would not allow a 6-inch line to be placed when, for this kind of a facility, 8 inches a requirement of the Auburn Water District.
And that makes total sense. The only thing is, like, for going forward, and I think we all know, something after the fact, the person that makes the call on the water department, or whatever department it may be, if it wasn't presented, or they didn't see it right, or there was some miscommunication, I'm not saying either side, 'cause I don't know, but $10,000 out of the gate just seems like a lot of money. And if someone maybe didn't see things the same way, or didn't read it the same way, it could seem like it could be off to the races at a rocky start for the town, and I just hate to see that. We're all, especially the town, we're all in this together, that one department or firm isn't communicating with the other, vice versa. Do we foresee anything like that in the future? Is there any way to kind of like smooth that over before the next issue comes up?
remember that it was bid out as a 6-inch water line, so the town did not pay, you're not paying for something you're not getting. And the increase for the change from a 6-inch to an 8-inch line with the tapping sleeves, to get the valves, the fittings, the pipe itself, it's a fair price.
Right. No, and I understand.
It's a very fair price, in fact.
And just in the future, sometimes things, you know, that's what they cost, but if it's
I think
just-
what you're driving at, it's no sharp pencil after the fact.
I like that, absolutely. I agree, that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I-
And do we foresee anything like that in the future?
Yes, that's why we have
We will-
contingencies.
There will be. Undoubtedly, there will be things. In fact, I think, Paul, you wanted to raise the issue of the elevator.
Yeah, and that's going to be after
So-
this.
So that is what your contingency's for, and that sort of item. There are undoubtedly, there will be occasions where there will be change orders. I've never worked on a project where there's not a change order, or, you know, a perfect set of drawings that there's not some conflict someplace. One of the reasons we go through the process of you know, all the reviews by MSBA and others is to pick up those sort of things, but nobody, you know, no matter how many sets of eyes, you know, things, there will be items like that, and that's what your contingency's for.
I just started asking, hopefully minimize in the future, whatever the reason is from past experiences. And change orders is a big thing. When you do look at the companies, that's one of the big things that sticks out, the change orders. Because we all know that can really make or break a budget, depending on what the expense is on the change orders. But
Mr. Chairman, I think Paul indicated earlier, he has reviewed all of these things and finds them to be equitable and fair.
Skanska has it.
And while
he has.
$10,000 is a number, I think when you investigate, like you're saying, the valve size changes, the pipe size changes, this is all a material thing. Like there's very little labor difference from laying a 6-inch to an 8-inch. A little bit, but not much.
Yep.
Just to be clear on this budget page, so when we see these change orders, since there's going to be some changes made, that we really won't be part of the decision if they're less than 25,000. We will
If
see.
we agree to that.
Yeah, if we agree to it.
Yeah.
But we will see those in the column of paid to date under the contingency.
We will, once a month, we'll provide a log that shows what has been done, how it's affecting that contingency for them. And what you're looking at now is going to be actually completely redone now that we
Okay.
have a GMP, which will break out more items.
Okay. But we will be able to see where those contingencies.
You'll be able to see it in the contractor's schedule of values, their monthly pay applications or pay requests.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's inside of their 33 million, there'll be a, you know, breakdown in that, there's a line item contingency that, you know, these will start to
Yes,
trickle
you'll
out of.
see what's happening to their contingency.
If we were gonna go with something like the linoleum or whatever else, that would come out of there's a construction contingency, it's an owner construction contingency. You know, that could be kind of those scope changes where you take that kind of stuff from.
So the ones we're looking at tonight are construction contingencies.
Coming out of
That are all within the GMP number, the guaranteed maximum price right now, yes.
The next time we see this, if it's, the contingency is 1.28 million.
Then it came out of the wrong contingency.
Okay, so the 16,000 or whatever this comes out to is gonna be taken off of that.
Can we do one motion for all four?
Yeah, I think we could probably do one motion for all four. We probably need to read them at least individually, so that, you know, see, change one, you know, for the value, and change two, just
Okay.
to recognize them.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we approve change order request one in the amount of $2,182.58. Change order two in the amount of $1,336.27. Change order three in the amount of $2,025.18. And change order four, the amount of $10,413.55.
I'll second
To
that
be-
motion.
Okay. The only amendment I would make to the motion is that it's to be drawn from the construction contingency.
Oh, okay.
To be
You said
drawn
that.
from the construction contingency.
All right, and second. Any other discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's a vote. So, now back onto the contingency change order review and approval process that Paul was talking about earlier about changes. I mean, right now he's proposed $25,000 as a maximum offset. I mean, it could be less, it could be more, depending on what people want to discuss here, but, and for draws from this construction contingency inside of the CM's guaranteed maximum price, just to, for the incidentals of, you know, hidden obstructions.
To make a recommendation to Mark for his approval for us to proceed.
Twenty-five, the right number?
I made the motion, I can now sit quiet.
Every week?
Huh?
Is that the right number, every week,
Yeah, I mean,
every time?
yeah, it's each individual item. And then it's, summarized at the monthly meetings, and then if it's bigger than that, it's gonna be a vote on the whole.
I recognize the need for it, I just question the value of it.
I think it needs to be more or less.
Is there a
Not
need?
sure.
Yes, there is a need.
I-
Fontaine's proceeded, on their own risk and went ahead and removed the septic system, removed the asbestos, proceeded with work without approval. If we had to stop and wait and call you in every time we hit something like that.
I'm not questioning the need.
Through the chair, if I could ask, too, obviously it's everyone's reputation on this, so we're not questioning that, I don't think. Is there a conduit with the town and the contractors, if there is a foreseen problem, sometimes the politic part of the town can be handled better by the town people? Is there a conduit or liaison between you folks, if you run into a problem, where you can reach out to maybe you, Mr. Chairman, before any problems? Because every town's different, I'm sure. I'm sure you run into all kind of problems.
We actually are having direct contact with everyone within the town and the different departments now.
Yeah. But it's been pretty open and
Pretty good.
with, between building department, the police, fire, town administration, the school department, everybody, I mean, we've had
Talk
early
to
discussions
Julie
with the water department and
directly.
stuff. I mean, this one slipped by for whatever reason. I mean, it might have been part of a meeting and somebody missed the fact that it needed to be that, or they didn't realize there was a loop coming in. I don't know what happened on this one, but.
That's the question I'm asking that sounds like it's already addressed.
Yeah, I mean,
So I'm.
and that, I mean, the town's been pretty receptive to it, and in terms of all the departments and stuff, and been really helpful with meetings and stuff, so.
But, Mr. Chairman, I think, Skanska is really an extension of us.
Right.
And to date, they've acted, in our best interests. And with Lamo Pagano, we're happy with their actions. I think it makes common sense to move forward with that request. It just hastens the project, and I have to believe contractor knowing that's gonna happen this way, his pencil will be sharp too, won't it?
It will, and most of the, the design documents are good. It'll be mostly things that come up during construction, it'll be overtime requests, it'll be, things that happen in the course of the normal project.
But if they know they don't have
But
to.
that need to be approved, in a fast fashion, especially with the project schedule. So we just want to set up a vehicle to have everyone review it.
So I'm in favor of the request.
Okay.
Make a motion.
I did.
Oh, is that what they call it?
I made a motion. What he said.
There you go. He's giving it back to you again.
Authorized, Mark, maximum of $25,000 to allow Fontaine to proceed for
Based on reviews from Skanska and
reviews from
recommendations
Skanska and
from.
LPA recommendations to proceed with work that
And
does not
running it
exceed
past the chair.
$225,000 per incident.
That motion was made.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'll second.
all right.
Just a second.
Well, that's good. All right, any other discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So vote.
And I did have the elevator under other. Did you want to address that now or after the invoices?
You're there, go ahead, jump
Okay.
into it.
The school was designed for a 25,000-pound elevator per.
25,000?
2,500-pound elevator per regulations. Recently, the state and local fire marshal and the, was it the planning, Eric? Planning department has requested that we install a elevator that can handle a gurney or a stretcher.
Right.
Not uncommon.
No.
We're in the process of trying to finish up the bid or get prices and things like that, but we want you to make aware of it and at least know that this is typical. This will be an additional cost to the project, however, it happens quite often, and wanted you to authorize us to go ahead and proceed with the obtaining pricing for this elevator in,
We bring it back to the next
Correct. The
Notice you
Board
told
meeting,
us that after
committee
you got the
meeting.
approval.
But
That's
that
not
is an issue that
uncommon.
has come up that we're having to address. I need your approval so that LPA can write a letter to the planning board that it is our intent to make this
It's not
change in
planning
the
board.
project. Not the planning board, building inspector. Right now, we can't get a building permit until we can supply a letter stating that we will make the changes to the elevator.
You have that authority. The difference isn't gonna be too much.
Don't know yet.
Yeah,
You see this? Well,
so the motion would be something to the extent of to authorize the project team to proceed with including the, an elevator to accommodate the permitting and fire chief's request.
I'll make that as, in the motion, and he'll second it. Moving on.
Did you say that this was a new regulation, or
No.
was it just a request?
It was designed the way it's
Yeah.
supposed to be.
Minimum code says, yeah,
The elevator regulations allow local authorities to, on a two-story building, have a 2,500-pound elevator. If it's 3 stories, you've got to go, you have to go with an elevator, a 3,500-pound elevator, which will accommodate a gurney. So we did not specifically ask the fire department for permission to use a 2,500-pound elevator. We should have done that, and we didn't do that. So it came up late in the project. They made it known that they did not want to go with that exception. They wanted the ability to accommodate gurneys in the elevator, so they didn't have to, if somebody were to require a stretcher up and down the stairs, they didn't have to manhandle somebody up and down the stairs. So the fortunate thing is that the elevator price has not been finalized yet, and that's, and we do have room. This is basically a difference of, I think, 14 inches in the depth of the elevator, and we have room to do that without affecting, any of the architecture or anything. We do need to address it now because structural steel shops are ongoing. They're ready to fabricate that, so we need to make sure that we pick that up and that Bill out in the field is able to pour his footings the correct depth and size and everything else. Actually, the depth isn't affected. It's a 4-foot pit no matter what. The over travel stays the same. It's really just the depth of the elevator hoistway changes by 14 inches.
I don't mean to belabor a point, but are there any other foreseen issues? Just because, these are all, some of the things that the fire code, fire marshal, or water department, is there any other foreseen issues down the road that may be issues
Well,
that you
what-
can see?
What we commonly see happen is that when things start getting installed and walkthroughs are made, a lot of times people don't pick things up on plans. They pick things up when they're walking through and they actually see that, hey, there's not an exit sign here. We should add one. So that sort of thing is pretty common. We
yeah,
see
exit
that all the
signs,
time.
fire horn strobes.
Yep.
Those are all the big ones that get added in late because it's a
Um,
visual thing versus
yeah.
that you really can't pick up on the paper sometimes.
So I would anticipate some of that.
Those are minimal costs, I would imagine.
Big things, it's a new project, so it's not like we have we've gotten out of the ground already. Bleachers, yeah. Another one is a recent, a fairly recent, frequently asked question of the NFPA regulations for asking for clarification on whether fire sprinklers are required under telescopic bleachers. And we have telescopic bleachers, they come in and out. So when they're extended, the question was do you need to provide fire protection underneath those? And The frequently asked, this was clarified in a frequently asked question, which was addressed in I believe, an NFPA bulletin, fairly recent one, and they said that, yes, it's required to have fire protection under there. It's not something we've ever done. In fact, I'm sure you don't have, I would suspect you don't have it at your high school or any other building in town with telescopic bleachers, but it's been recently addressed, and that's something that we will be asking the fire department for their input on that
And that
matter.
would just be extension of some,
That would be the extension of a line
Height
down
and
from the ceiling level of the gymnasium.
So, I mean, all of the plans up to this point are made to code.
They are.
These are just over and above recommendations.
Yes. Yeah.
I just don't want to get into a point where we start getting over and above code for,
A lot of
Exceed-
the- a lot of
exceed-
code is interpretation by.
but I
by
understand that, I
inspector.
just don't want to get into a point where we have different departments saying, oh, we'd love to have this, or we'd love to have that, and then the cost goes up. I mean, you're meeting code, you're meeting the building code.
Just to
or
clarify,
Regular construction practices.
But-
we are. Just to clarify on the elevator, the local authority having jurisdiction, in this case, the fire department, they don't have to allow us to use the, non-gurney sized elevator. They have the option either way, so we should have asked them that question.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, SBA or anybody else that regulates construction, they require a contingency. And typically on a construction project, 3% is a typical number. If it gets over 3%, then something's kind of fishy. So that said, contingencies on this job, a $44 million job, is $1.3 million of unforeseen things or forgotten things, or this one says I want it this way and you can't have it that way. This is not an unusual at all.
that puts it into perspective, because, I mean, the amounts seem large here, to me. But for the contingency on $1 million, it's not, it really is not.
I don't personally think this project's gonna have a 1.3 million worth of contingencies, but
We have a pretty good track record with change orders as far as a percentage of the construction cost. We
That's
don't
why you're
expect to
here.
hit the 3%.
No, I appreciate that. We have trust in you, obviously, these are some of the questions.
No, I understand. They sound like big numbers.
Right. Okay, appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So was there a motion? There wasn't a motion on the floor yet, right? For the, to allow him to go ahead and proceed with the, preparing for it.
Eric to write a letter.
You have to approve for us to include the
I'm all done with that one.
elevator into the project so that we can get a building permit.
Yeah, we have to incorporate a large enough elevator to fit a gurney.
Fine. I'm done. I'm keeping my mouth shut. I've spent too much money.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Vote. All right. And the last thing is the monthly, or our regular invoices here. Can't do that. That's all that was put out there.
Yeah, the one that's,
Okay.
So in here, we got a Skanska invoice, and Lambert Pagano invoice, and the first of the construction invoices with the summary on the front of where it's all coming out of and where we are to date. So I'll start with the Skanska invoice for services up through April 13th.
Motion to approve Skanska invoice number 1311838-PDS-12086-25 for $19,440.
I'll second that.
Whoa. Which one? I was with you until we got... Oh. We got two invoices there, we got it. Yep. So that's the services through March, because we pushed off a meeting here that we were supposed to have in April to May here, so we got through March. That was, so what Bob just read was in the first package that was on the table. It's the services through March 16th for the $19,444, or $440, sorry. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? It's a vote. Staying with that package. Yeah, out of the first package that was on the table, that's one dated 3/31.
I have a couple questions.
Hmm?
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
On 331,
Yeah,
can I ask that?
Am I wrong for the other one?
yeah,
So I'll make a motion we approve the,
after we open it up. Yeah, good. Oh, hang on a second. Let them,
so, make a motion we approve invoice 1207-1403 in the amount of $93,000, $93,010 for Lamro Pagano.
we have a second? Second. Okay. Now, discussions.
Yes, Eric, in your invoice along with it is niche engineering additional services, amendment number 1. What are those additional services?
I believe those were the traffic impact study for West Street that they were...
Were they hired to do that?
They were hired to do.
And where does it show up on your invoice? Where does it show up on here?
I'm not...
There's a traffic impact study down below for 12,210.
Take that to markup on it.
Well, what did they do originally? They didn't do a traffic study originally?
They did, but they were also hired to do further study of the, they were approved to,
Yeah, we had
additional services to do the West Street study.
Yeah, all right.
to look at ways to get it up to the, so we can get approved.
But where is
Passed.
it on here?
It's right, it's
It's
down there,
here.
the 12,200.
Where?
That's Lamro's markup.
I see, I'm sorry. That's, I'm only looking at, that's what they're over.
Yeah.
The next page is is their invoice.
Yes, I saw, that's what I was looking for, the 11,100 over here. and I didn't see it. Thank you, Eric.
So anything else? All right, so we have motion and seconded here for paying this invoice for $93,010. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? That's a vote.
Abstain.
Okay.
No, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Have a Briggs invoice in here. Huh?
Isn't that part of Pagano's?
No. They're direct to the town.
Motion to approve Briggs invoice number 70834, dated 3/29, for $2,231.13.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any discussions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Vote. Now onto the package, the second set of the invoices.
Biggie.
First up is Skanska's through, now this is services through April 13, 2014.
Motion approved invoice number 1311838 PDS 12094-26, the amount of $42,630.
We have a second? Any discussion, questions?
No.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? That's been voted. Lamro Pagano invoice. This one's dated 4/30.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we pay Lamro Pagano invoice dated 4/30/2014, invoice number 1207-1404, in the amount of $103,629.12.
Second.
Any discussions, comments? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? It's been voted. All right. The Fontaine invoice, I don't know, Paul, you want to run through this quick? Is it- Did you, I assumed you guys had looked at this and
Yeah, I mean, the process is, they issued their schedule of values. It was reviewed by Skanska. It was also reviewed by LPA and LPA's sub-consultants for the plumbing, electrical, all those other ones. Went back, we made a judgment or adjustments to their schedule of values where we felt maybe they weren't as far as long as they thought they were invoicing for. You know, we reduced certain amounts, added certain amounts, came up with this. It's been certified by LPA. Did you want to add to this?
We have the certified copies with us tonight.
Right.
Okay.
That invoice as well is for everything, including pre-con from project starts now.
Correct. There should be a second page that breaks down
Yeah.
the areas that they're actually invoicing against. I can't,
So we had the three, is it 3 amendments or 4 amendments before this? The site work, the concrete, the,
There's been two prior to this.
Two,
Amendment
okay.
one is site work, and amendment two is steel and concrete.
totaling this 10,604,000. Next time, so next time you'll see this, it'll be the 33 plus million.
Would it be possible we could ask Skanska and Lamro Pagano on the application for payment, they could somehow, in bottom left and bottom right, simply state that they have reviewed,
well, LPA's already, they have
but
to.
on the one sheet?
I can,
Is it possible?
Well, yeah, I think that's, he's got the, there is a spot for architect certified on here.
right, it's not
Oh,
for
which-
us. I can do maybe an email or something just saying that we reviewed it.
We have certified those, we just brought them with us tonight. We
Oh, okay.
They are
certified
signed.
them
Okay,
yesterday.
all right, so you've already signed it?
And I
Okay.
include the amount that's been certified
Okay.
just to show that it.
Which is the same amount as what they're asking for?
Correct.
Would you like to
Okay.
review, see?
No, I believe you.
All right, so this, application number 1 from Fontaine. We need to act on.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve and pay the application number 1 dated May 6th, 2014 by Fontaine Brothers in the amount of $2,074,563.31.
Second.
Any comments, questions, concerns? Nope. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? So vote. So that's all the agenda items, unless there's, under other, anybody needs to bring up anything else, or wants to bring up anything else for future meetings?
Just have one thing, Mark. I neglected to introduce Jesse Vino from Lamro Pagano. Jesse's
working on the project, and he makes sure all the submittals and all those other things go through correctly, so he's got a lot to do the next several months.
Okay.
What's the next meeting date? Okay.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Mr. Chairman, 17th was determined for the other meeting on
We
June.
might have to,
Is that good enough for you?
Paul, next meeting? Do it.
I would say
Is the 17th okay?
17th would work.
Okay. It's a Tuesday night. All right, so the next meeting will be June 17th. 7 o'clock here. All right. Anything else?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Have a good night. Thanks, everybody.